Hi everyone, my name is Bryce Kho, and today I'm going to show you how to research an object that you don't know how to draw and that you maybe don't even have a great photo of. So for me, the approach I like to use is called a mnemonic approach, in which I'm going to be likening pieces that I don't really understand to things that I am familiar with, because that just makes it easier for me to understand what I'm looking at. All right, so within our AC photo, I have a couple bikes here that were parked along the side. Bikes are so hard. I really don't enjoy drawing bikes, but they look cool and they add a lot of personality and atmosphere to a piece. So let's give it our best shot. This is like an angle that I might end up using of it. So studying this is really helpful. With a bike, just like anything else, I'm gonna try to break it down into shapes I understand and can replicate later. This looks like the front of a biker helmet to me. So thinking of it that way, where there's like a sharp helmet here with like horns, that's one way to be like, okay, what did it look like again? If I can just get something close, then that's great. So it's like this alien helmet with like antler ears sticking out. That's a shape I can remember because I've thought of it in terms that I do know. So if I ever wanted to draw a helmet again, I know I'm just drawing a human head shape with those large ears and antler ears, right? So now, I haven't really conquered a realistic bike, but maybe I'm getting close to something that I can use practically speaking. And then continuing that metaphor of, can we humanize this in a way that makes it easy for me to really hold on to it? The neck of this character and then the chest, right? Like just going down. Looks like they put the license plate right up there. So license plate is like collarbone, and that's generally the way I think of it. It's usually a little bit more of an angle, but like in a mech of armor, let's say it's just like jetting out like that, right? And then the lights are like the pecs on a chest, but a bit more aggressive, at least on these like speedier looking bikes. This chest comes to kind of a more flat face. And then this is where I have to start thinking about the use of this design and how it's being really implemented on a bike, which is that this appears to be the piece of machinery that connects to the wheel, obviously. I mean, if you had to explain it, sure. But like when you're drawing, it's like, oh, remembering that I'm drawing this piece with the intention of a wheel kind of being either laid into it or jetting out from it. In this case, it's definitely conforming to the shape of that wheel. So this inner shape is going back like that. So it's like, it's the piece of armor where the belly has been hollowed out. Drawing my understanding over here in this rotation, kind of flatter here, that like I could have some personality with adding details, but really it's starting to crunch down there. But then the back of this shape is where the stomach of our armor is conforming to a wheel. I know from experience that like on the top of the wheel, as we saw with that other vehicle, there's like that cover on the top of the wheel. So that's not conceptually difficult for me to understand that needs to happen. Okay, so the shape looks like this, right? From this angle, which from the top looks like this, and that's underwear. That's underwear. These are legs. Okay, that's a long crotch, and that's the torso, right? And this is my Titan. Okay, so this is the next piece that we're trying to understand here. It is underwear. We're gonna go with the sporty look, and the underwear houses the wheel. I'm not gonna do anything with the wheel. Come on, guys. Can only go so far. Okay, so here is our wheel. Maybe all vehicles have the cylinder connecting to the center of the wheel. You can tell I'm not a car literate person, but that's okay. You don't have to be either. A lot of details, but I also know from experience that the inner part of the tire, like the hubcap or whatever, it's just so different that you don't have to really memorize an exact one to, like I said, get away with it. You might want to study this one or whatever one that you're looking at to get some ideas for what relationships or pieces make sense there. So like having this extra cylinder with a bunch of extrusions and nail holes or screws. This is like language, this is texture that I might study and memorize, and then literally copy and paste it anywhere I don't know what I should be doing. It'll make it look cool, and it might be convincing enough. Let's do a quick study of that. So there's like an inner, I wish I knew the language for this, it must sound so silly, but like different cylinders there that we can just kind of imagine that's where things get screwed in and tightened for the vehicle. And the additional one here with more knobs to turn and tighten. And it looks like it goes over the wheel a bit. By zooming in, I also am getting a sense that there's kind of a back cover to this, which may be the skirt of our human analogy. Yes, the cover is but a little bit, okay? Tire textures are generally all the same insofar as that for an illustration, we only really need to memorize the fact that it has a pattern connecting to it and then usually a middle area. I'm not doing a fantastic job here, but this is research in which I'm saying like, these are the things to remember to include. He's got a cool, very complicated pattern here. I don't think it's necessary for me to memorize that for this illustration because the bike is not the star. So just getting down the basics, definitely enough. Okay, so we have the front of our bike, which could be enough for our purposes here. So both of these have a really big butt here for storage, I assume. Oops, that's not very pretty. So it is just this suitcase thing. It looks like it's connected via some rods here. And then this is where we just don't see enough here to really make very educated guesses at what it should be. But knowing that the shape ends with somewhat of a larger rounded off box might be enough so that like if I'm drawing it from this angle and I just think, okay, it just ends in a really big box there, as well as some like kickstand type pieces. What is that? I don't know if that's a wheel or not. I know from my vast knowledge that they usually have two wheels. Some cool machinery here that is very angular and using some of the same language as this, but a lot flatter. And then, you know, just assuming the wheel is there. This might be enough for my drawing just to like be convincing. I'm gonna copy over what my understanding was here, which is it transitions into some angular flat surface shapes here with kickstand pieces touching the floor. And then my assumption that there's a wheel, much like this front one on the back. And so I'm missing this middle section. If I were to literally just connect the dots here and say, okay, it's probably a seat, I'm using my imagination, and then just like connect what I'm seeing here. I know that this is like kind of a separated bump, so this doesn't have to like connect exactly, but filling in this middle area with pieces of what I'm seeing here to get the rough idea of a bike. And that might be enough like for what I need. If I want to really know what I'm doing, which I don't know if I do for this purpose, then I can go ahead and study some more. But I think you get the idea of what I mean. All right, so that was a breakdown of how I do research. Just remember, guys, that this is a step that you don't want to skip because it's building that foundational knowledge that you're going to use to play with when you get to the illustration, so it's actually fun to draw from imagination. And so that wraps up how to research something with a more mnemonic approach. If you liked what we did today, you can look at the entire digital course covering how I research a variety of topics with very different techniques, as well as the full process for an illustration from start to finish. And you can find that at proko.com/digitalpainting.